Chapter 16. The soaring rush of the drop shaft seemed to last forever. The drop shaft entered solid rock, and as I rose, I shed the last of my bear form. I felt the return of my human reason, but I was still confused and disconnected from what was going on. Then, quite suddenly, I was at the top of the drop shaft. I stepped off into solid concrete, and the others were all there. Axe was trying to morph into his human body, but he was having trouble. Morphing is exhausting. Morphing rapidly from one form to the next more than once makes you feel like you just want to crawl into a corner and die. I knew how he felt. I stumbled from sheer weariness as I stepped onto the cement floor. It was dark, with just enough faint light to see the faces around me. "Careful," Cassie said, taking my arm. "We're okay. We're safe. We're in the base of the water tower behind the school." "Gotta get out of here. Yurks will be watching." "Yeah, they were," Marco said. He jerked his head over to the corner where two human controllers lay unconscious. "Let's get out of here," Jake said. "You okay, Rachel?" "Yeah, tired is all. I never morphed the bear before. Didn't have time to get control. Sorry." "It's okay, Rachel. That grizzly got us all out of there. But get some rest, huh?" "Yeah, rest would be nice." Somehow I made it home. I crawled into my bed and fell asleep instantly. I didn't wake up till the next morning when my alarm went off. I was groggy, barely able to read the numbers on the clock. "Rachel, are you up?" My mom called through the door. Yeah, I'm up," I said. I crawled out of bed and staggered toward the bathroom. Jordan was in the bathroom we share. I went out into the hall toward my mother's bathroom. She was already up and dressed in a tan business suit. She was adjusting her nylons. "You don't look too good," she said, giving me a sideways look. I said, "Can I use your shower?" "You're wearing the clothes you came home in last night," she said accusingly. "You came wandering in at 9:30, barefoot and wearing your leotard. That's what you're still wearing." I stared stupidly down at myself. Yes, I was wearing my morphing outfit. I left my shoes over at Cassie's. I was showing her some gymnastics stuff. Can I use your shower or not?" "Coming home barefoot and falling asleep without even having dinner," my mom said and shook her head. "Rachel, if you're having some problems or something, I want you to talk to me." I did the wrong thing. I suddenly burst out laughing. "Problems? No, why would I have any problems?" I giggled and wiped the sleep from my eyes and giggled some more. My mom sighed. "I have an early court appearance this morning," she said. "The Hallinan case. But I want you to stay home tonight. I think you and I need to have a little talk. I know your father has thrown a big problem in your lap. I know this decision is very difficult for you. Go ahead. Make sure Sarah gets on the bus okay." I closed the bathroom door behind me and fled to the sanctuary of steaming hot water. It started coming back to me then. All of it. Exploding out of the Texan's stomach. The element's offer. The sight of Tobias, back for too brief a time in his own body. Human again. And the battle. A rampaging, enraged bear. A bear that was me. I shuddered. I was running out of hot water. "Rachel, what did you do? Fall in?" It was Jordan outside the bathroom door. "Jordan, make sure Sarah gets off to school, okay?" I yelled out. "I'm running a little late. You go ahead too." I skipped school that day for the first time in my life. I lay around the house and watched daytime trash TV. I flipped channels back and forth between one bunch of messed up people and another bunch of even more messed up people. It was nice watching other people with problems. Their problems all seemed easy compared to mine. But over the electronic pictures of angry people and placating hosts, other image appeared. A Taxon, split open like a torn bag of garbage. The frozen, silent screams of involuntary hosts in their cages. And though all the television noise, through all of it, I could still hear the other voices. The Element's voice in my head. We can save a small sample of the human race. And Jake's voice. You are out of control. And my father. To another city. Another state. I tried not to even think about everything that had happened the day before. I mean, it was so ridiculous. I lived in two completely different worlds. One world was filled by family, school, gymnastics classes, shopping, listening to music, watching TV, normal stuff. And then I had this other life. A life where I wasn't just Jordan and Sarah's big sister and my mom's first child, and a teacher's pet, and a gymnastics student who was weak on the balance beam. In my other life, I was a warrior. I risked my life. I fought in deadly nightmare battles against terrible odds. I became so much more than just a kid. Noon rolled around, and I made myself a grilled cheese sandwich. I turned on the TV in the kitchen while I cooked. And there was my dad on the noon news. He was doing a remote story from outside the studio. Some stupid event at the convention center. I muted the sound and just watched the picture. I threw my sandwich in the trash. What am I supposed to do? I yelled suddenly, shocking myself. What am I supposed to do? My voice sounded flat and dead in the silence of the kitchen. I felt foolish. It wasn't like me to get all emotional. I stood there, just staring at the cupboards. The Elemist, the bear, my father. What was I supposed to do? Leave my mom and sisters? Leave my dad? Leave my friends? Leave the whole messed up planet? I imagined going to see my father down at the convention center. Dad, I have this problem. And he would put his arm around me and fluff my hair like he always did and say, Come on, kid, don't be so serious. I turned the TV sound back on. My dad was grinning at something. He was doing some chatter with the anchor people back at the station. Be leaving us soon, but we're all sorry to hear that. But I know it will be a great opportunity for you. Yes, it will, my father said. Although I will really miss all the... I snapped off the TV set. I felt sick inside, like I'd swallowed broken glass. I needed to get out of the house. I needed to stop thinking. I went upstairs and opened my bedroom window. Several minutes later, a large bald eagle flew from my window and soared high into the sky. Chapter 17. We all hooked up later that afternoon at Cassie's barn. Inside her barn there are rows of cages in all shapes and sizes, mostly full. Birds are in one area, with mammals separated from them by a partition wall. I guess it makes the birds nervous to be in the same room with foxes and raccoons. Nervous birds hurt themselves, banging around the cages. When I showed up at the meeting barefoot in my morphing outfit, everybody immediately knew I hadn't exactly taken the bus to get there. Jake and Marco were lolling on bays of hail. Tobias was perched on a crossbeam, a few feet over our heads. I felt a stab of pain, seeing him that way again. Axe did not come to these meetings, usually. He would have had to assume his human morph, and he preferred to remain in Andalite form as much as possible. Hi, Rachel, Marco said, looking amused, but also a little wary. What have you been up to? Or maybe I should ask, what have you been? Cassie was busy changing the bandages on a wing of a sad-looking kestrel. Hey, Rachel, Cassie said. Give me a hand here, will you? I didn't see you at school today. I went and held the struggling bird as well as I could. Kestrels are small falcons. This kestrel tried to take a bite out of me, but he was too weak to do any damage. I felt kind of sick this morning, I told Cassie, so I stayed home. But you felt better this afternoon, huh? Jake said. So much better that you decided to morph? How did you get here, just out of curiosity? Cassie was done and took the kestrel from me. I turned to look Jake in the eye. I flew. Is that okay with you? He glanced at Cassie, then at Marco. That bear you morphed yesterday, you went to the gardens and acquired that all on your own, didn't you? No, I said. I met that bear at the mall. Okay, Jake said. And today you did school and end up morphing. Whatever you morphed. An eagle, Tobias said. I saw a bald eagle riding the thermals this afternoon. I should have guessed. It was up there for too long, acting like a buzzard. A real eagle would have just perched after a while. So nice knowing I have privacy, I said sarcastically. That was about noon, Tobias said. If you came here in eagle morph, that would have been more than 2 hours. You must have demorphed and then morphed again. Jake looked at me sharply. You spent the whole afternoon in morph? Yes, mother, I said. Jake jumped up and stood right in front of me, his face just inches from mine. Don't give me your sarcasm, Rachel. You're acting really weird. That's everybody's business. Because if you do something stupid, we could all end up paying the price. You go and acquire a grizzly without backup? You could have been killed. So what? I shot back. You heard the Elemist. We're doomed. It's going to be Yerks 1, Human 0. We lose. So who cares about anything? Who cares if I skip school or go flying? Suddenly, Jake just sagged. I don't know, Rachel. I don't have any answers. I'm sick of trying to have answers. You decide. I don't want to argue with you. I don't know what your problem is, but you know what? You deal with it. I've never seen Jake look so tired. One minute he was being strong, sensible Jake, leader of the Animorphs, and the next minute he looked exhausted. His eyes were red. He was blinking constantly. He looked like he was worn out just from breathing. My dad wants me to move out of state with him, I said. Everyone just kind of stared at me. They all had blank, tired eyes, not much different from Jake's. What are you going to do? Cassie asked. I threw up my hands. How can I even think about something that unimportant? I mean, like we don't have bigger things to worry about. The fate of the planet Earth and the human race? Different things bother different people, Cassie said. I know how you feel about your dad. He's a jerk for jumping this on me, I said loudly. It was weird. All of a sudden, I felt like I was choking, like I was ready to explode, like my brain was spinning out of control. It's like, what am I supposed to do? I yelled. After what happened last night, after all of that, I have to decide who I want to hurt, my mom or my dad, and you guys, and... Come on, Rachel, Marco said kindly. Take it easy. Come on, you're Xena. No, I'm not some stupid TV character. I'm not some comic book, Marco. I'm scared, okay? Just like all the rest of you. I'm scared of what almost happened to me last night. I'm scared just knowing that place exists down there. I'm scared about what happens to me. I just wanted to run away, but I didn't think I could. So I was brave because that's the way I'm supposed to be. But now everyone's going, oh, just come live with me and we'll go to ball games. And hey, forget moving to another state. We have a whole other planet for you. And the more exits I see, the more scared I get. All right? For a long time, no one said anything. Marco sighed heavily. I've been thinking. I'm changing my vote. If the LMS asks again, I'm going to vote yes. What? Jake demanded. Why? Marco shrugged. Rachel's losing it. If she loses it, how long are the rest of us going to last? Shut up, Marco. I'm not in the mood for your jokes, I said. Me neither, Marco said flatly. You know how much sleep I got last night? About an hour. Nightmares. I was a zombie in school today. I feel like my skin has all been rubbed with sandpaper. I'm jumpy. I'm scared. I'm stressed. It's gonna happen, Jake said. This was always insane, right from the start, Marco said. A handful of kids fighting an alien invasion? Look what's happening. Tobias is trapped in morph. Rachel is starting to use morphine to get away from her problems. The other night, I woke up in bed and I didn't know what I was. I didn't know if I had hands or fins or claws or talons. Maybe you and Cassie are immune, Jake, but I doubt it. We can't give up, Jake argued stubbornly. All we ever do is lose, Marco said. We annoy the Yeerks. Maybe we blow up a ship or have some little success. But the invasion marches on, and all we ever do is barely escape with our lives. We're like some baseball team that never wins a game. And now, according to the Elamists, we know it's going to be a whole losing season. We aren't going to the playoffs. I don't care, Jake said. I'm not giving up. Jake, Cassie said, see this? She held up her left arm and pointed to a scar above her wrist. I got this from a raccoon. The raccoon had been caught in a trap. Its leg was broken. I was trying to free it so I could save it. It bit me. We're not raccoons, Jake said. Aren't we? Compared to the Elamist, Cassie said. Isn't it just possible he's right? That what he's trying to do is save at least a part of the human race? That he's just trying to get us out of the trap and fix our broken bones? Cassie's right, Marco said. If the Elamist wanted to hurt us, he could just destroy us. You know it as well as I do. Fine, I'm going to let him get my leg out of the trap. But I have some conditions first. There are some people going with me. But if the Elamist can save those people along with me, then I have to say yes. Marco looked at me. Then Jake and Cassie and Tobias all looked at me. The vote was now 2 against 2. I was the deciding vote. It would mean no more battles. It would mean that somewhere, wherever the Elamist took us, there would be no job in another state for my dad. There would be no more painful decisions for me to make. I opened my mouth. I started to speak. I promised I would ask you again. Uh-oh, Marco said. I will show you what you need to understand. Chapter 18. I will show you what you need to understand. In an instant, we were gone from the barn. The 5 of us and Axe stood side by side in the middle of an empty field of scruffy, unkempt grass. There was a long, low, tumble-down building 100 yards away. The Elamist was nowhere to be seen. We were the only people around. 5 humans and 1 Andalite. 5 real humans. Tobias, I said. Yeah, he said, looking down at his hands. This routine again. Jake looked angry. Cassie marveled. Marco tried to smirk nonchalantly, but wasn't succeeding. No one looked tired anymore. Axe skittered nervously in his dainty hooves and stretched his tail as if preparing to use it. The Elamist again, I said. Do you guys hear? Yeah, we heard, Jake said. So we get another chance to change our minds. Where are we? Cassie wondered. I mean, something about this looks familiar, but I can't quite place it. I had the same feeling, like this empty, dusty, blasted landscape was familiar. It was Tobias who saw it first. The school, he said. What? I said. No way. But he was right. I looked again and realized that I knew each of these tumble-down buildings. Okay, I don't like this, Marco said. I don't even halfway like this. I mean, normally I'm all for seeing the school blown up, but I really don't like this. When did this happen? I wondered aloud. I skipped 1 day and the place burns down? I don't think so, Cassie said in a strange, distracted voice. I don't think this is something that's happened, past tense. I think we're talking future tense. Or just tense, Marco muttered. I looked over at Cassie, wondering what she was talking about. She was staring intently up at the sky overhead, then off towards the horizon. The sky, she said. Have you ever seen it that color before? It does seem slightly yellowish, Jake said. And the air, doesn't it smell funny? And look, over there. The trees over behind the gym, they're dying. The Elamist said he would show us something, I muttered. So what's he showing us? Axe, you understand any of this? There is a time distortion. I sense it, but I don't know what it means. It's the future, Cassie said. A chill crawled up my spine. I wanted to think Cassie was losing it, but I sensed the truth of what she said. Okay, Marco said. So what are we supposed to do now? Stand around here until the Elements comes back for us? Jake shrugged. I guess we look around. The mall's just a quarter mile or so. It should be open. So we walked across the scruffy field, beneath a sky that seemed to add yellow to blue and make patches and wisps of green, unlike any sky I had ever seen. We passed the school, and I looked morbidly through the blast holes to see if we could recognize anything. Yeah! Marco yelled. He reeled back from one of the dark holes. I ran to look inside. It was a classroom. There was a skeleton lying crumpled across the teacher's desk. Oh my God, Cassie whispered. The body was just left there. That's Paloma's classroom, I said. History class. It took a few seconds for the significance of that to sink in. The body had been left there to rot. It must have taken years for it to be reduced to nothing but bones. Cassie's right. We're in the future, Marco said. But that's impossible. Impossible for humans, Axe said, but not impossible for Elements. Oh, I get it, I said angrily. It's a little lesson. The Elements is showing us what happens in the future. How cute. How clever. But how do we know this is really the future and not just some little show he's putting on? Let's try them all, Jake said, although I don't have a good feeling about this. We left the school behind us. I tried not to think about who that skeleton might have been. Some teacher, some student, some person who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe we could check the bookstore at the mall, Marco said. Find a World Almanac or for whatever this year is. See who won all the Super Bowls. And then we can go back in our own time and we can bet on the games. Make a fortune. I forced a laugh that came out like a grunt. We needed to keep our spirits up. Marco was trying. We reached the highway. 8 lanes of concrete, dead silent. Not a car. Not a truck. Empty. On the far side of the highway was a rusted wreck of a car. Bony white hands clutched the steering wheel. We stayed away from it. I saw something that gleamed brightly off to the east. It seemed to run in a straight line from the far horizon to a point much closer. I squinted to see what it was. Too bad we don't have your hawk eyes now, I whispered to Tobias. It's a tube, I think. Like a long glass tube. There. Something is moving down it. It is a conveyance of some kind, Axe said. He had turned all 4 of his eyes toward it. It seems to be a glass tube that goes on for many miles. Inside it are fast-moving platforms like your trains. Only faster. They are going perhaps 300 miles or more of your miles per hour. They're everyone's miles, Marco said. You're on Earth, Axe. We all have the same miles. What about nations that use kilometers? Axe said smugly. See, I am learning. Some kind of very high-speed train system, Jake said. That's why no one is on the highway. The question is, who built the system? I pointed out. A few minutes later, we reached the mall, but it had changed. It had changed quite a bit. Oh, man, Marco said. Look at that. Oh, man. The mall was still standing. Even the sign that said Sears could still be seen. But holes, perfectly round and about 6 feet across, had been drilled into the sides of the 4 big department stores. There were 6 or 8 holes in the pennies. The same with Sears. And from the holes emerged Texans. They crawled in and out of the holes. They slithered down to the ground and up to the roof. They were carrying boxes from squat, bulky spacecraft that sat in the parking lot. They were unloading it like a truck, carrying silvery packages in through several of the holes. It's a hive, Cassie said. It's like a beehive or an ant colony. They've taken it over. The mall is a Texan hive.